we're going to go ahead and get started. Welcome, everybody, to the regular monthly meeting of the Indian River County Hospital District for the month of March. Tonight we have with us Pastor Joe Moore. And Pastor, if you would be so good to give the invocation.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Or afternoon. Amen. Let us bow for a word of prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, we come to you today in prayer and supplication, asking for your divine guidance, for your divine wisdom, and for your divine support as we begin this meeting. Help us to engage in meaningful discussions throughout the course of this meeting. Allow us to grow closer as leaders. Also, Father, we are asking for you to help us to nurture the bonds of this community through this meeting so that the decisions made as a result of this meeting will bring our residents one step closer to being on one accord in all matters of healthcare. Lord, we bless each and every one that is upon this panel. We thank you, Father, for their service. We thank you, God, for their commitment to Indian River County and for the residents that reside here. Lord, we just ask for your divine wisdom once again. We bless you. We honor you on this day. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you so much. We'll do the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Amen. God bless you.
Thanks.
Thank you. If I could have a motion for approval of the chairman's meeting minutes dated February 15th, the regular monthly meeting minutes dated February 16th, and a March disbursement of Mr. Kent.
$950,903.15.
So moved.
May I hear a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, very good. I have nothing special tonight. Sebastian, do you have anything?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
I've responded to questions from trustees as they have arisen pertaining to various matters the district is handling at the present time. I continue to review the annual deadlines and deliverables due to the district under the lease with Indian River Cleveland Clinic and have responded with questions as they arise. I'm actively following the current legislative session for bills related to hospital districts with regard to the Sunshine Law and Public Records Act and will bring forth information when necessary. I am currently on hold with this matter, but we are continuing to monitor how a potential county ordinance change regarding stormwater retention may impact the Indian River County floodplain and stormwater code as it relates to the property the hospital district owns with regard to the hospital campus. We have received the VNA's notice to vacate the Human Services Building, which they currently lease from the district, and I have met with their council to discuss the next steps in that regard. I have also sent correspondence to the Cleveland Clinic's council and received a response that they are interested in entering into discussions regarding use of the Human Services Building. I have circulated both of these items to all trustees for review and information, and this matter was also discussed at the February 15th, 2023 Chairman's meeting. The Cleveland Clinic did send representatives to our Human Services Building mid-February, and we are awaiting further correspondence from the hospital following the tour. They have requested the opportunity to conduct some further due diligence before coming back to the district board with a further request. I will bring further correspondence to the board upon receipt. I have followed up on correspondence sent to the hospital's council regarding a trustee request that that came out of the January monthly meeting, requesting correspondence to be sent inquiring as to whether the hospital district will agree to release the parcel out west that is encumbered with the 2018 lease, amended lease as amended and restated between the hospital district and in requiring in regards to the hospital's possible future use for the parcel. The Cleveland Clinic has declined to release the parcel out west, but invited discussion regarding their plans for future use. And that concludes our council report for today.
Okay, thank you. Michael, our financial.
Thank you. You got a financial statement from Anne Marie in your packet. We start as we usually do by saying,
Yes.
it's a pleasure to announce that the financial position of Indian River County Hospital District remains strong.
Good.
I haven't done anything inappropriate or bad so far.
So far.
Yeah, I knew you'd call me on that. The key things that I wanted to point out, and I realize this is sad. This just tells you how on the ball I am. I wrote my notes out. I went back and looked at last month because I wanted to see the language I used about reporting how strong we are. And I meant to file these back, and I filed today's notes back. But I think I can do this. She did point out that both, well, I'll start with the revenues. They've risen slightly. They're up to just about 92.5%, I think. So that just ekes in, and I guess, as I'm told, is going to continue to eke in a little at a time as folks pay their taxes. Also, she clearly noted that revenues for both programs and administrative expenses were well below budget 5 months in, but I wanted to point out a couple things. One, the variance for year-to-date variance was 526,000, almost 526,469. And I wanted to point out that part of that, it's really just about 10%, is the fact that iRecovery is in there, but we're not funding them. But the deficit in that funding is there. But that's only about 10% of it. But also just leads me to a question that I wanted to ask. And this is, again, very normal. I still, maybe for one or two more meetings, get to say I'm new to this.
Maybe one.
Maybe one more. There are three programs that at this point in time, 5 months in, have not expensed anything, asked for reimbursement, or we haven't got to them. They're not huge, but I'm assuming that's normal. I guess that's an Anne Marie question, or Kate, or someone. The first is medication assistance, which is a $45,000 line item for budget, but requested nothing. That's for whole family. Also, find it, Michael.
I can speak to those couple.
Yeah, go ahead. And I don't
like,
even need
yeah.
to list them. I mean, those are,
Right, so the iRecovery, they have not had to date, as our understanding is, they have not had any individuals seeking their assistance or services that have qualified under the district's program. They are providing services to residents in Indian River County, but, or have had some patients from Indian River County, but none that, all that are insured at this moment in time. So, is that
Yes.
accurate?
Yes, and I did speak with Brett this week, and Wes, actually, and they were gonna get some materials around to the different organizations to kind of boost up, like, just getting to, make sure that.
Make sure they're
people are
aware of the
that there
service
are
and that
ref-
we are
that they can
funding them.
refer there, so, so they'll.
That's what I was wondering, is the awareness down, or?
Yeah, I think it's just that they don't.
See how they do. I mean, how will we?
Okay. Stage that.
Are people nervous about spreading it? Or? I don't think so. Okay. It's just that they're new
Yeah.
to us. Yeah, okay.
and the three under
And
whole
then-
family, it was medication assistance for 45,000, and then under New Horizons, psychosocial rehab and inpatient crisis beds. Together,
Med-
that's $60,000 or so, and there just hasn't been any draw on them, so.
Right, medication from Whole Family is billed to us semi-annually, so
Okay.
they'll do it at the 6-month mark for the previous 6 months. The New Horizons piece, they have not billed for those services, not having Indian River County residents that are availing themselves of those services. So Jenny's had some discussions with them about what that looks like when they come back to us for funding, if they haven't utilized those dollars over the last couple of years. We're going to have some discussions about whether it's appropriate for us to continue to tax for those and pay for those if, put the money aside for them. The other one was the New Horizons,
think
the
you
medication, that's it, yep.
Again.
So it's a timing situation for one and
Getting used to really drilling down,
utilization.
looking at it, and
Yep.
If I'd done this in advance of yesterday's chairman's meeting, I could have asked you then, but I really did it last night and today. On the administrative expenses, they too are under budget by 50,000, and the bulk of that, about 68% of it, is really in the same situation. There are 3 items that have a budgeted expense, and no dollars have been put in there yet, and those were other maintenance, Gifford Health Center, other maintenance, district financial assistance, and other expense travel. Not concerned about them at all, and even with that, we're still under budget, but I mean, that budget is appropriately tracking. Relative to our investments, it was very fortunate, and it was nice to have Dominic here yesterday. I think we all got an opportunity to learn a little bit more about Deep Blue, where our investments are and how they're structured. I certainly learned a bit. And the other thing that I wanted to share, and it is noted in the report, is in addition to those investments, there's another roughly $5.5 million that is in 4 T-bills through Treasury Direct that are all 52-week term, and they all expire between May and December of this year. So those are all, in addition to what we looked at yesterday from Deep Blue. I haven't had a discussion, I'm not meaning to have it now, but my assumption is at the point that they mature, we're likely to roll those then into Deep Blue? Or are we waiting to see?
So we started with Treasury Direct last year, and we're managing that internally. So that's why we purchased those T-bills a year out for maturity. So when they mature, the plan this year is when they mature, on the months that they mature, they are being utilized to spend down to pay for our monthly expenses. That was the plan. And then the laddered investments from Deep Blue filled in the months that we did not have maturing T-bills that we purchased the previous year. So that is an annual contract with Deep Blue. So I think at the end of this year or towards the end of this year, we will have a discussion about whether or not this is a function and a process that can be handled internally for no charge to us. I mean, there is not a charge through Treasury Direct for us to do that, for me to purchase those internally and you to manage those as the governing board. So
There may come a time where treasuries aren't the better.
anyway, and so Deep Blue gives us that opportunity that they will be able to suggest or look at our portfolio and say, rather than us using T-bills or notes through the Treasury, that this is a better investment. Money market, CDs, as interest rates fluctuate, they're going to be able to put us in the best product that's going to earn us the most income or interest rate.
Is this a topic that the committee that's being formed would explore?
Yes.
With the idea, because, first of all, our ability to make a mistake is narrowed by law in terms of where we're allowed to invest. So, in terms of risk management, it would seem within a defined parameter, there may be a less costly approach to take, particularly if we are just buying T-bills. The service fees might be a good savings for us.
Right, but again, we're not investment bankers.
Right.
Well, I'm not.
Well,
and
and
Michael, I'm not sure is either. And so, yes, that is what will be under consideration with the Finance and Audit Committee that we're structuring now,
Certainly
in the
where we
process
are
of
is a
structuring.
huge improvement from what I understand, obviously, from what we learned
Right,
yesterday.
I mean, we used to earn about, I don't even know, $10,000 a year, and we're earning at 30,
that
right, a month, much less, right? So,
Yeah.
so yes, those will be things that we'll take under advisement and have discussions about, and then make recommendations back to the board from
It's
the
not broken, we'll
subcommittee.
fix it.
I had a question on that. It says under revenue that the revenue is $22,163. Is that all from Deep Blue?
The interest, just the interest on this month's
It says
investments.
unrealized gain loss investment says from February 23. That's,
Yeah, I'm not sure why that, I think we have to have a conversation with CJ, with our accountant, about why that's titled that way. It's that unrealized gain loss investment income is the new, Kip reported that to you, the new recording and reporting of the lease, the net lease that we have to now report income and expenditure. So we, for example, lease our office, and so that's a payment out, an expense to us, but we have buildings that we collect rent on, the Human Services building that we collect rent on. So that net is an unrealized gain, right? So it really should have some rental name in the title, in my opinion.
That doesn't include the deep blue?
So those are not really investments,
Oh, that's
to
my,
my knowledge. Yeah, I
And
think
where
that's
does
the
that
net.
deep blue and that
Those are under your interest, the
interest in it?
interest and investment income
that makes more sense.
for a month and a year-to-date,
Thank you.
if that makes, does that work better? Okay.
108,000 is a whole lot better than 22.
Yeah. Right.
Which
And
was,
that is my report.
Before we move on, I just want to share an observation that's part observation, part question. And I'm doing it now because we just talked about New Horizons, and we're going to be getting together next month for strategic planning, and it may help Anne Marie prepare us. Is the fact that we're not seeing New Horizons participate, is that good news insofar as services locally are meeting the need? In other words, and I don't know. In other words, I'm asking, you know, are we not seeing them? Why aren't we seeing them, I guess?
So we need to dig into that a little
Okay.
further, but we'll come back. I'm hesitant to make
That's fine. I just
maybe
was
some
asking a
incorrect
question.
off-the-cuff.
Fair enough. It's not an agenda item. I just am asking the question because it came to mind while
No,
we're
it's a good
hearing.
question, and I had a conversation with their new CFO this week, and William is expected to provide his report next month, so it's definitely a good question for him to
So
have.
next month you'll get it right from the horse's mouth.
Well, just wasn't sure if there's somebody locally that is filling that bill that keep the money local, you know, but I'm not looking for an answer, just raising the question.
No.
Gotcha. I'll stop
Their specific
stop.
question is, no, there is not somebody filling the bill.
for another time.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. We're good with our financial, Anne Marie?
Okay, again, my written report is in your packet, so I'll entertain any questions from there. The only thing I wanted to, and I did attach, because I have reported a couple of times on the Communities That Care, which is the initiative that is being administered, I suppose, I guess, by the Executive Roundtable in connection with the Substance Awareness Center. So I just wanted you to have a little bit more information on that, because Dawn and I are pretty heavily involved in that and really supportive of that initiative working in our community, and probably you'll hear a little bit maybe in Carrie's report tonight. So I just wanted you to be aware of what that was, and particularly for the newer trustees that may not have been here when we began that. Secondly, there is a new bill out and, or in the session at this moment that I have been notified about from the Florida Association of Special Districts, and that is House Bill 199. It, if passed, may have some impact on our district, as we have 2 trustees who currently work for, or we have contracts with those organizations that they work for. So I can certainly send this around to you if you all are interested in seeing the.
Just read that one part there, because I think that kind of resonates.
Yeah, so the subsection Section 1, subsection 7A says that no public officer or employee of an agency shall have or hold any employment or contractual relationship with any business entity or any agency which is subject to the regulation of or is doing business with an agency of which he or she is an officer or employee, excluding those organizations and their officers who, when acting in their official capacity, enter into or negotiate a collective bargaining contract. And it goes on to talk about that. So the important part of that is that we have two trustees that work for one, an organization that we contract with for some services, and one who leads an organization that we fund. So I think we just need to be cognizant of that dynamic as that moves forward. And again, in the instance it doesn't pass, there is,
Something that just surfaced.
yeah, that we need to be paying attention to that. The other piece they've embedded again in this House bill, which has been unsuccessful on its own over the last couple of years, the requirement for elected officials to participate in 4 hours of ethics training each calendar year. I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing, and, you know, that we would do that. Employed or elected officials have to do that, but it has not met with approval of the legislature in the past couple of years. I'm not really sure why. I mean, most boards, we do the same. Well, that's probably true. Maybe that's why they're not so crazy about it. But those two are somewhat unrelated, but in the same bill. So, you know, I'm not a politician, so I'm not going to pretend to write. But I just want you to be aware that they're out there and that we're following them. Kate has it on her, and I'm sure that Jennifer and Sebastian have it on their radar as well. So we'll keep you informed if anything happens there. Oh, I guess one last thing I better say is that the new ordinance for the CSAC, for the Children's Services Advisory Committee, went into effect this year, and we now, the district, has a representative, a seat on that, a voting seat on that committee, and that is me this year. So I am still learning about that, and I think they are going to do a new member orientation because there are several new members, and there's some new caveats within how CSAC is managed and the process at which they handle the monies that obviously come down from the county commission and, you know, have the higher.
Just for the sake of our new trustees, Anne Marie and I have met several times with the county to say, you guys pay for this and this and this, and we pay for this and this and this, and there's often overlap, okay, to the same agencies and that. And so we have proposed multiple times, how about if it's a health type issue, that they come to us, okay, and if it's something other, obviously it stays with the, but we have not been met with open arms on that.
So that is a piece
But
of,
we've tried
somebody
at
brought
least
that up
3
at
times.
at the CSAC meeting on Monday, and so we are, and I asked for us to have a place on the agenda at some point, when the grants committee meets and when, you know, as we're collecting. Again, it'll probably not happen this year because our application is out for funding and their application is out for funding, and both of them are due in the next month or so, but there could be, yeah, right,
Going forward, I don't know.
right. So we're gonna have some further discussions about that at CSAC.
Do you have any pull in that place as well?
Well, I think
It
Michael
makes
is sitting
sense
on the
to me.
grants.
I was gonna say.
You're on the grant
Things
subcommittee,
I'd
right?
add is one, I'm sitting on a subcommittee, the grant subcommittee, because we couldn't have, I'm not in a sunshine conflict with Anne Marie, but, for your information, Carrie Bartlett
on there as
has been one of the commissioner selection to serve there too.
Okay.
So she is also on the main Children's Services Advisory Committee. Technically,
me,
you're the
which is not a
representative for us,
sunshine issue.
but obviously Carrie is knowledgeable and part of this group. So I couldn't serve there, but I could serve on the Grants Committee, and I cleared that to make sure that.
And with the new ordinance, those on the subcommittees may not be a sitting member on the main CSAC committee. So Carrie and I are on the overreaching CSAC committee, and Michael is on the grant subcommittee. So just so that separation is happening.
And the other thing I want to say is they have hired a new full-time, I think they're calling her a human services managing director, and
Right.
human services falls. It's the bulk of her work, but that lady, Roberta Katz,
Roberta Katz,
is
yeah.
not even a month on
About,
board yet.
yeah, 3 weeks ago, I think.
Yeah.
Right. And then I know you formally to the board introduced Wes Salmons, who is here again tonight to observe us, but he is the new executive director at the Mental Health Collaborative, who has taken Brett's place, so we welcome him as well. That's it.
I did want to, Anne Marie sent out today to the VNA, has requested to extend the lease through June now. And I just wanted to see if anybody has any issue with that. Obviously, with the delays in buildings and delay and all that kind of stuff, that's part of why they are doing that. Yes.
I move we accept their request to extend to June 30th and send them a letter confirming that.
Okay, I'll second that. Everybody else in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so let's do that. Yep. I didn't want that to go past tonight, so. Okay, senior resource, Liz.
Good afternoon. I'm Liz Bruner. I'm the Vice President of Philanthropy for Senior Resource Association. And I've had the chance to meet most of you, but I do see some new faces since I was here last time. So thank you for your attention, and please don't hesitate to ask any questions. Written report in your packets, so I won't regurgitate those numbers. I do want to just mention a couple of highlights. We are in our first official grant funding for our emergency alert response program. And fortunately, with the help of the hospital district, we were able to launch that. Our goal, of course, is to help older adults live independently in their own homes as long as safely possible. And certainly this service makes that possible for more of them for a longer period of time. We began with 50 slots, and those quickly filled. And then we, with the current grant funding, we've been able to add an additional 75 slots. When I submitted the report last week, we had 96 of those filled. We're over 100 now, so I have no doubt that we will reach our projection of 125 by the end of the funding period. We do a lot of outreach around this proactively in the community, but we've learned recently the good old-fashioned word of mouth is quite strong. A lot of our seniors who are enrolled in the program, with the peace of mind that they now have and the relief that they know, have been sharing with their friends. So that is driving some of our numbers up, which is a wonderful thing, because I just think the vulnerability of these folks is tremendous. And the best example is that one of our emergency alert participants shared with her case manager that so the case managers get all the reports on, alerts and what's happened and the results thereof. But in speaking with this woman, she fell in her bathroom in the middle of the night. She injured her arm. Generally was so weak that she mightn't have been able to get up anyway, but with the injury, certainly couldn't get up. And she told her case manager, she said, I might have died there if not for my emergency alert. And so it really is a lifeline for so many of our seniors, and we're super grateful to be able to provide that service. We do expect the need to continue to grow. We have approximately 14,000 seniors in our county that live alone, and so they're prime prospects for this. And of course, the aptly named silver tsunami, which is already washing over us with aging baby boomers, just going to drive those numbers up. So as with most of our programs, we are constantly looking at sustainability and other opportunities to raise money, both through individual donations and grant funding. We've really expanded our grant program this year, and I'm very excited about that. But just to draw this piece to a close, this is a service that, for so many of the seniors that we care for, really becomes a luxury. Their budgets are tight. It's something I think all of them want, but few can make that difficult decision. So with your help, being able to offer that to them at no cost is a godsend.
We had the discussion a while back where the VNA was wanting to do pretty much the same thing, and we pushed them towards you. Are they giving you referrals in that?
You know, I imagine so. I'd have to check to be sure. We are never lacking for referrals, and we have a great relationship with them. So my guess is yes. They were. I remember that discussion happened right after I joined Senior Resource Association, but they were very gracious about the fact that we had such a good rate with ADT, and we could deliver the program a little more efficiently as a result of that. And ADT has frozen our rates, so we're very happy with that partnership.
Who is ADT? I saw that, I just don't know the company.
ADT, it's a nationally, perhaps international.
Oh, the signs
ADT.
for the
Security.
The security.
Yeah,
oh,
yeah.
home security.
Yeah, home security.
Got it.
Yeah, yeah. So it's a great partnership, and they are very, very good to work with. Okay, I will move on, since we have several to cover. I don't want to belabor anyone. Our public guardian program, this is a vital service that we're able to provide with your help, and it serves a particularly vulnerable population. In case you're not familiar with it, the folks that we care for are assigned to us by the court in Indian River County. They are deemed incapacitated, unable to make decisions in their own best interests, either because of emotional challenges or cognitive issues. And so this revolves around financial decisions and personal decisions. So the two types of guardianship are financial and personal, or property and personal. And some people, we provide services for both, which would include making healthcare decisions for them, banking and other financial decisions, helping them with living accommodations and so forth. So it is truly a program. I mean, they're legally known as wards, and I remember Anne Marie always bristled a tad at that, and I hate it as well. It's kind of like the word client. It's so impersonal to me. But these are men and women that are at risk of abuse, neglect, and exploitation. And sadly, too many times that is at the hands of someone they know, a family member or a friend, so-called friend. So we're just really pleased to be able to grow the program. When we took it over in 2019, we had 12 wards, and we have since tripled the number we serve annually, and we have no doubt that we will hit our goal of 40 this year, probably by July. And again, the growing need ties directly to population growth and senior population growth. Our county is, I'm sure you know, 39% seniors compared to 22% statewide. So, you know, the number is just going to go up, and that does keep me awake sometimes at night, knowing how much is needed. We have been doing a lot of community outreach and marketing, have gotten tremendous response, happily, from the hospital in Sebastian. So we are increasing our involvement with, of course, we're very involved with Cleveland Clinic, Indian River, but also increasing our involvement with Sebastian and making regular visits with other healthcare facilities. So
That's good.
yes, so little progress there. And another point, I'm not sure we've talked about this before. You may be aware that Senior Resource Association provides adult protective services in Indian River County, and that is in cooperation with the Florida Department of Children and Families. So when an abuse or neglect call comes in to the DCF hotline, we take those cases and investigate and report back with recommendations. So that has unearthed a few opportunities for Public Guardian to come into play as well, and I'm sure that will continue. I won't go over the goals, all of that was in your packet. I think I'll just share another just quick story. We had a Meals on Wheels volunteer who was doing her regular route, and she arrived at the home of a woman that she delivered to many times, and found her to be quite ill and needing to go to the hospital. But she had an irrational fear of doing so and did not want to call for help. So the volunteer reported back, our team sprung into action. One of the case managers who had a great relationship with her was able to talk her through going to the hospital, but her condition, her emotional condition, had deteriorated so that they were not willing to release her, able to release her without appealing to the court and petitioning for public guardian programs. So she took a little while, but the process went through as it should. She was assigned back to us. We were able to find her new accommodations because she could no longer safely live alone, and then provided some other supportive services, including continued Meals on Wheels service. So it really, our programs are so intertwined, and I can't say enough about the eyes and ears that our volunteers are on our behalf, that because they really can raise the red flag when things are not going well. So thank you for helping us keep folks like that safe. Lastly, I'm going to speak about our home delivered meal program, which includes both emergency meals and long-term Meals on Wheels. That, of course, remains the cornerstone of our nutrition program. Meals on Wheels offers a lot, but the bulk of the people we serve are in home delivery. And it basically serves people who are homebound, unable to shop, or unable to prepare their own meals, either due to physical, cognitive, or health issues as relates to emergency meals, and or maybe under financial duress. So it's really more than a meal, as we were just talking about, and serves as a daily well-being check and a social connection for people that are isolated. One of the tools that our Meals on Wheels volunteers use to report on things that they see is a real-time function of their mobile meals app. Everything is done on their phones now. And so as you go through the process, it tells you, don't let the dog out, knock loudly, she can't hear, and, so forth. So they get all their tips in their route daily when they show up. The last item after they check delivery is an inquiry that says, has there been any change in condition? And that's where you can say, gosh, Mrs. Smith seems a little less steady on her feet, or Mr. Jones is not as lucid as he has been. And so it's our opportunity for the volunteers to tell us something's up. And they do. And our team in the office does respond very quickly. I can only relate my personal experience here. The first summer that I drove Meals on Wheels, when our snowbird volunteers are away, I had a woman who was extremely unsteady on her feet, and so I made a note of that, and I was still in the car when they called and said, tell me more. So it's really refreshing to know that there's that prompt response to a concern. We talked about it being a window into the lonely lives of some of these people. Sometimes those who are counting on us are more isolated than you can even imagine. One of our volunteers told me recently, she went to see a woman, an older widow who's on her route, and the lady said to Linda, I haven't touched anybody in such a long time. May I just give you a hug? And it just breaks your heart to think that people are that alone. And so Meals on Wheels, emergency Meals on Wheels, what you all enable us to do is really special. So thank you.
So my question to you, you say that the wait list is 180 to 200 some people every day.
It's
What is it restricted by?
funding.
Funding?
Funding, totally. So we are presently feeding about half of those people on the wait list, and it's actually gone up. It was 297 when we checked last week. And so we're feeding about half of them thanks to philanthropic dollars. And if they if someone who is on the government-funded program, this is kind of a convoluted, so I'll try to paint a picture of it. If we have someone who is funded by the Area Agency on Aging, it's federal dollars to state, to local, and then to us. If we lose one of those individuals, either they move into assisted living where meals are provided, or they move in with a family member, or they pass, their dollars become available. And if, in the government's wisdom, there is a qualified person to take those dollars, we will shift an individual from our wait list group over so that they're no longer on the wait list and they're now paid for by government dollars. The rating system of who qualifies is a bit difficult to digest. The Area Agency on Aging takes into consideration a number of factors. And so if I have dollars for Meals on Wheels and their next highest risk person needs adult daycare, goes to adult daycare. It does not go directly to Meals on Wheels. So we are reliant on philanthropic dollars to continue feeding those folks as long as we can for that flow and pass-through to level out. And sadly, there's an average of, I bet this has gone up too, but last month the average was 10 new seniors signing on the wait list monthly. So for every few we pluck off, 10 come on. So we're, it's kind of a losing battle, which is concerning. But as I said earlier, we are leaving no stone unturned. We have tripled the number of grant requests that we are submitting out to other funders. But not every funding request is an annual opportunity. So
What would you say your percentage increase is now versus last year at this time? As far as how,
you mean
more
the people
that you're
joining the
serving.
wait list?
Right.
Has
it been great in this last year? The numbers, bigger than the past?
Yes, the
Larger?
numbers are up. Karen says as long as she has been here, there has been a wait list, but it spiked during COVID and has continued to go up since then. I don't know what the monthly average was for adding to the wait list increasing last year. We started tracking it more closely last summer when we started beefing up our grants program, because we're really trying to be strategic about managing the food for these people, because one hungry senior is one too many in my book. And so we're just, like I say, just plotting out how we can try to bring in.
So if you had the money, do you have the volunteers and the food?
We have enough volunteers to handle the half of the wait list we're feeding now. So I would venture to guess we would be able to ramp up our volunteer corps to take, we've never suffered for lack of volunteers. So it's always been for lack of money.
And the availability of food?
So we purchase the food from a vendor.
Right.
So, they
Okay,
can
so
certainly
they could
scale.
ramp
Yeah,
up.
Absolutely. That would not be a
think-
problem. And they're a national, national vendor for Meals on Wheels. Their main office in Florida is in Tampa. We get our food out of Melbourne, and it's shipped down daily in a hot, cold truck. So, everything is temperature controlled. They control it. They bring it to us. We check it when we get it, and then we put it in the warmers in the fridge so that it stays safe.
I really think that you guys need to,
Say it out loud, say it out loud.
I really feel that you guys need to maybe, yes,
Swing for the fence.
Thank you.
yes, I do.
That's,
Who are your other funders?
gosh, there are many.
Big ones.
Well, big ones, you guys are probably the big one. I'm trying to think, we get Meals on Wheels money from United Way. We get Meals on Wheels money from the Leo and Peggy Pierce Family Foundation. Like testing my memory.
These grants that you're finding, you,
So we've applied to a couple of local family foundations, and we've applied to some of the community foundations, Windsor, Johns Island, and so forth. They have support. We applied to Indian River Club Head Heart Hands. We reach out to individual donors. My God, there are many more. I'm sorry, I'm blanking on this.
Well, I'm just saying, obviously, you're reaching everywhere you can reach.
Yes,
to get it.
Impact 100.
And knowing that,
America.
and knowing that that's not going to stop, you guys work hard at that, then I would think that we would look kindly on
Thank you, Barbara.
some requests.
That is refreshing. Thank you so much. And I'd be delighted to provide you, if it would be beneficial, a list of Community Foundation. I mean, there are so many that we are engaging with and trying to solve this puzzle.
Liz, are you still coordinated? I think it was Paws for Dogs. I'm not sure what that was. to
Oh.
get dog and cat food.
We do, every 2 weeks, we deliver pet food so that our seniors don't share their food with their furry companions.
I tell the story, I haven't told it here, which is why I'm going to tell it. I have told it several times. I think 5 times I've done a ride-along and once I actually drove.
Yes.
3 times we encountered, in terms of well-being, one of them was, the woman openly said that she was using her meal for her pets. And we got right back, and that's where I heard, no, we've got an affiliation, and she then got on a pet list.
Yes.
Twice, though, one in terms of living condition, and once in terms of a gentleman not understanding directions that he had been given by his doctor and stopped taking his meds. We didn't leave that place until a VNA nurse actually, we called, and somebody came. So, 40% of the time, they were really serious issues in play, and then throw in the dog. That's 3 out of 5 times that well-being check makes a difference. So, I mean,
Makes all the difference.
Well, I think besides just the meals.
besides the,
It's the eyes and ears to be able to help these people.
absolutely.
Right.
So you can call Barb when you need dog food. I might be able to round you up.
Karen, did you want to say something? I don't see her, I don't.
Are you communicating with her? Can you?
Oh, there she is. There she is.
Can you hear me though?
Now we can hear you, yes.
Okay. Liz said it very well. You're talking about capacity and can we provide the services? Absolutely. We have the capacity, we just don't have the funding. There would be no problem whatsoever. We would have to, ramp up a few different things to make things happen. But that's easily done. It's a great program, and I don't think I'm speaking to the choir. So, good job, Liz.
Thanks, Karen. And just related to the volunteer issue, I just, as I told Karen, and I think I mentioned to you, Mary Beth, just met with the folks from Community Church, and they are working on, volunteer recruitment there. So, I don't think we'll have any trouble with the people side of it. So thank you for recommending that we seek the financial side of it.
First, the medicinal quality of a hug is not insignificant. That's something. With regard to your Guardian program, when it comes to making medical decisions, what support do the Guardians receive? Is it just from the physicians and the medical care providers, or do you all have any capacity to make sure they are as informed and educated about the decision as possible?
I would have to go back and get more information on that. I know the Guardians are all rigorously trained, but how deeply that gets into decisions about healthcare, I don't know. My assumption would be that they would visit with the healthcare professionals involved with that individual. And if there were an instance, and there are occasionally where there are family members, not that they get to make the decision, but they might be, can she speak to this? Good.
I wanted to add to that with the Guardian program. All of our guardians are certified through the Office of Public and Private Guardianship at the state level. Any decisions that are made for the wards have you know, any, even financial, we have to, have them represented, and, we are also represented. For them actually to become a ward and deemed incapacitated, there is a full process, whereas there's an examining committee of 3 medical persons.
Oh,
The court system, and of course, the judge then deems them incapacitated. So we're not necessarily we do not make the medical decisions. Um, we we manage their medical care, as in booking their appointments, and but any major decisions has to go through the court.
thank you.
Thank you. And the purpose of the question is mostly just if there's anything that needed to be done to explore how else we could help in that area or what have you. I was just so that we're clear, no observation that was negative at all, but mostly just what additional support, if any, was the reason. So thank you.
Yes, and I think one of the elements we didn't speak to verbally today is that the requirement of the public guardian program is, by law, is that we can only spend the amount of money that they personally have to care for them. So the support that we get from organizations like the hospital district enables us to hire staff and all the things we need to do in order to take care of the people, but we can't enhance their financial position at all. So that makes it a tad more complicated, but with the committee, the examining committee and the court's oversight, I would think if there were a need for some additional assistance, they would be able to.
Right, I just was thinking in terms of case management that might come alongside your guardians or what have you, is what was going on in my mind. So,
Okay,
but thank you.
Thank you. Other questions?
So
I
I,
kind of have I don't know,
Go ahead.
maybe it's, so when that particular person runs out of funds, what happens?
Karen, do you want to take that one?
Yeah, okay. So, the way we manage an individual with their own funding, normally the people that we have, are indigent. We take the most vulnerable. The persons that we have, cannot afford a private guardian. So their income, you know, whether it be Social Security or if they had some kind of a pension, that's what we manage, and use. Assets, I don't think we can't have anything, they can't have assets over like $3,000 roughly, in the bank. And there have been individuals that, in fact, I remember one gentleman, he's passed, but his total income was $750 a month, and we had to manage him on those dollars. And so he lived in a group home, and he had enough money for they paid, he had accommodations and food basically. Others, they might have $3,000 a month, and we have to use those dollars to provide a place to live and their food and everything else. So it does pose a lot of issues. To answer your question though, Barb, it's not a case of them running out of money because they didn't have any money. They're simply living on the means that they have, the Social Security.
Okay.
So I guess their income typically is unending.
But limited, restricted.
But limited, very limited.
any other comments for Liz? I think you have your marching orders for this year's request, right?
I do, and it's right around the corner.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Liz.
All right, Carrie, Substance Awareness Center.
For those who don't know me, my name's Carrie Lester. I'm the Executive Director at the Substance Awareness Center, and I certainly thank you for your generous support of our programs and taking some time tonight to learn a little bit more about what we are doing and the outcomes that we have. I have Jill Amos with me tonight. She is our clinical director, so she can help me answer a little bit of the program's questions. And I did notice Wilfred Hart. He's one of our board members sitting in the audience.
Welcome, Wilfred.
I thought maybe it would be helpful. I realized I kind of sent out a report. If I just did like the Reader's Digest version of who we are and what we do to give a little bit of context for the numbers that you see in the report and the programs that we're talking about. I realized as I did a lot of stakeholder interviews that every time I talk to someone about our organization, even people who think they know a lot about us say, wait, whoa, I didn't know that. So if that's all right, I'll kind of jump into who we are and what we do. So our mission is to reduce the impact of substance misuse and behavioral health disorders in Indian River County. And we do that through prevention, education, treatment, and recovery support. We achieve the mission by embracing two positions: prevention works and recovery works. And the hospital district funds programs under both prevention works and recovery works. And so under prevention works, our goal really is to protect the vulnerable developing adolescent brain from the harmful effects of substances and health risk behaviors. Prevention is bigger than just substance use for us. And so under prevention works, we do a universal prevention program. That's just a good public health measure. Universal means every kid gets this prevention. We're not targeting any specific kids with our universal program. We received some funding from the district for that program, and we achieved that program with our partnership through the school district and a lot of our summer camps. And so this year, we've reached about just under 4,000 students in grades 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th. The number of programs, the intensity of the programming varies by grade level. Middle school is a developmentally appropriate time and place for prevention programming, so we're heavy in the middle school. We teach 7 classes in core curriculum in 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. We did 1 lesson of vaping in the 5th grade this year, and in 9th grade we're doing vaping and a suicide prevention and depression program. So that's where we're at with our universal prevention program. What will happen at the end of the school year, we have an outside evaluator who will match our pre and our post-test surveys and then help give us hopefully a report that shows that we're implementing with fidelity and we're achieving the outcomes, the desired outcomes that we want to see. A key to prevention really is important is education is important, but skill building's got to be a key component to that. And so the different evidence-based curriculum that we use have skill building component to them. Then we have an indicated program. We received some funding from the district for that indicated program. Those are our kiddos that have been identified as engaging in a health risk behavior. Some of it is substance use, but not all of it. And in that program, we are seeing an increase in the number of kids coming to us. I think this school year, we've already served 166 kids, so we are on track to exceed our pre-COVID numbers. We saw a plummet during COVID, and now our numbers are going way up. What's important about the indicated program is our partnership with law enforcement. The state of Florida has legislation where law enforcement can use discretion when writing a misdemeanor offense. They have the ability to use a civil citation, keep the kids out of the juvenile justice system, keep that fingerprint from getting entered into the system, and they send that citation straight to us. We are the one organization that receives those. If the kid or the family doesn't follow through, we send it back to law enforcement, it goes to the state attorney and gets prosecuted. But we have a high success rate of getting kids into our program and keeping them out of the system. That's really important because A, we want to put an appropriate intervention in place, and we want to do it timely. And our court systems aren't always timely, and we're not always matching the proper interventions in our court system. And so this is just a great partnership and ability to put a sound evidence-based prevention in place. Our civil citation referrals have more than doubled this year. I believe we are like up to 80. That could be good news. That means the law enforcement are using it more than arrest. Jill sits on our Circuit Advisory Board meeting for Circuit 19, and they delve into the civil citation data and looking at juvenile arrests heavily, and we'll be looking at those trends to kind of see what's happening there. But our tobacco citations are also, increasing exponentially. Those often occur on the school campuses where the SRO is finding someone in possession of nowadays it's a vape, it's not necessarily tobacco, and then they are sending them to our organization for an intervention. And I can say that I don't remember numbers well. This school year, there were 349 vapes confiscated, and 24% of those vapes tested positive for THC. It's like about 1 in 4 of the vapes that we're finding on our school campuses are positive for THC. And so that is just a big problem nationally. People schools are pulling their hair out left and right to try to deal with this. We continue to try to make sure that we have got the best evidence-based interventions and programs and practices in place, which is part of why we stepped into 5th grade. We've got to get the kids to not pick up the vape in the first place. We have a generation of kids who are now addicted to either high-content THC or nicotine, so we definitely have our work cut out for us. And then the last thing that we do in the name of prevention is our community coalition. Our Substance Abuse Free, Indian River Coalition, SAFER, and our Communities That Care Coalition. So I was super excited to see that you guys have some information about that. And those are really ways that we can mobilize our community to reduce youth substance use and risky behaviors. And that's what CTC, Communities That Care, is all about. I would love the opportunity to bring Kylie in to talk to you all a little bit more about Communities That Care. We really appreciate Anne Marie's commitment. I know you're sitting on the Key Leader board. And Communities That Care is really about how do we build a prevention system in our community. It's based on over 25 years of research. There's a lot of trainings that are involved. We learn social development strategy. And then we do a data inventory. We do a resource inventory. Who's already doing what in the space? And then we as a community pick a target, keep our eye on that target, and watch the needle move in the right direction. And if it's not moving, we have to figure out what's going on and what we need to do. So it's an exciting opportunity to really transform prevention outcomes in our community. And then for those who do develop substance use disorders, Recovery Works. And our job under Recovery Works is really to share the hope and beauty that recovery is possible. People can and do recover. I stand here today, people can and do recover. And so under that, we have a highly structured day treatment program. It is 16 hours a week. Our clients come 4 hours a day, 9 to 1, Monday through Thursday, and then they receive individual sessions outside of that program. The reimbursement rates for our day treatment program are almost laughable. I think we get like less than $100 a day for the services we're providing. But the line item that you see in your report, that acupuncture, is funding we receive through the district, because it's really important, no matter who your payer source is, that you have access to high quality care and services. And that's what's really important at our organization. And so we wanted to make sure that we could continue to bring the quality services and programs to the people in our treatment program. And I think acupuncture has been well received by our clients. Our clients can step down from day treatment into our outpatient program, or if you have a milder substance use disorder, we can put you right into our outpatient program. That one's a lot more flexible, maybe 1 hour a week, or we can build more services up if you don't need quite the 16 hours a week, so we have some flexibility there. And then we have our peer support and recovery support program, which we receive a lot of funding from the district for, and that one's really important. And it was really born out of the fact that only 10% of Americans with a substance use disorder ever receive the treatment that they need, the specialty treatment that they need for that. And there's multiple reasons for that. Some of them is access to care. You think about rural communities. Some of it's finances. Some of it's having children. But another piece of it really is a hijacked brain that says, my drugs are my survival and there's no way I'm going to treatment. And there's also, when we're working with clients, we talk about denial. Stands for don't even know I'm lying. And I'm lying to myself. I have a brain that tells me it's not that bad. I can stop at any time. It'll be okay. And so peers are people who have been trained to use their lived experience to help engage and retain people with substance use disorder in treatment. And so we have 4 peers on staff, and we use what we call assertive outreach with them. We are partnered with community organizations. So we are on site over at the Behavioral Health Center once a week. Our peers do outreach over there, bring recovery support programming. We are over at the Source once a week. We partner over at Camp Haven. Since there's not as much attrition at Camp Haven, we go twice a year. And we are now back up in full swing at the jail. We're over at the jail twice a week. And so it's important that we are planting seeds to the vulnerable population where they are, because they're not going to always be knocking down our door. And so that's a real important program. I'm so happy to see that really expanding and growing and what we can do there. And then through the generous philanthropy in our community, we have 2 homes that have been gifted to us, and we operate our recovery assistance program. And so our peers help manage and operate that home. They provide recovery support services to the people in the home. and then help them really transition into independent living. And so in our recovery assistance program, we rely heavily again on our community partnerships. They can receive counseling and treatment at our organization. We utilize United Against Poverty's STEP program. And then in phase 3, it's about, we charge a nominal fee of $50 a week so they can get used to living on a budget, paying rent, and then we want to transition them into independent living. And so the majority of our people stay about a year, some a little less and some longer. It's just all individually driven. And I think that's the bulk of what our peers are doing, and Narcan training. So Narcan is the opiate overdose reversal medication. I think some of you have had the training. They're doing training and Narcan kit dissemination in our community. And so just a tidbit on overdoses. Most of you have heard me say we've had over 100,000 overdose deaths nationwide. That's like 250 plus people a day who have died due to an overdose. In our community, we are not immune. In 2021 to 2022, we saw a 70% increase in the number of calls to EMS coded as overdose and a 70% increase in our death rate. And then just a few weeks ago, the epidemiologist working at the opioid Treasure Coast Task Force emailed us. He was digging through some data and he said, I just want to bring this on your radar. That Indian River County, he was looking at all opioid-involved fatalities. And Indian River County was 60% higher than Martin County for fatalities. It's provisional data for the last 19 months, but it was through January. We were 60% higher than Martin County, and when he adjusted for age, we were 40% higher than St. Lucie County. So I said, can you send me kind of like the trending data? Like, let's look month to month, what's happening. The good news is our trending data is, it looks like we're going down, we've dropped down about 10%, so we're not climbing, but he's going to continue to send me monthly data because that is pretty, astounding and significant. And, that certainly, doesn't say anything about our law enforcement. They're doing a lot of work to, get the illicit fentanyl off the streets. It just speaks to the power of the fentanyl that's coming into our community and the needs. I will say when I looked at 2022 EMS data, there was a slight decrease in the number of calls to EMS for overdose, but what was noted was there was an increase in the number of times that naloxone or Narcan was disseminated prior to EMS getting there. That would lead me to believe that potentially there are times when Narcan is disseminated and nobody's calling EMS. The good news is Narcan's probably getting to where it needs to be and people are using it, but we still have a high rate of overdoses happening, and that's just, that takes a community to really work on and address.
Is there an age where that's happening, Carrie?
About the 30-year-olds, 30 to 50.
Is there any certain population or economic, is there?
I believe it is white males, but it is really, it cuts across all demographics, but we definitely, it's that 30 to 50-year-old population is the highest, but across the board. Now, one of our prevention, our coalition campaigns is we use the DEA's One Pill Can Kill. We know prevention science says, scare tactics don't work, but this DEA campaign is really important because parents need to understand and know the dangers of hidden and illicit fentanyl. And fentanyl is being pushed in brightly colored pills that would target young people. And so we just want to make sure that we have our education well out in amongst our young children and parents having those conversations with their kids about the dangers of, if you don't know where that pill came from, it is not safe to use. And, the data really backs that up. I'm trying to think what else.
The snapshot, the last 5 months, you show under medication-assisted treatment, 25 screened and referred. Is that referred to medical-directed detox?
No, so let me tell you a little bit. So the way medication-assisted treatment works for our organization, one of the strengths or weaknesses of our organization is we don't have any medical on site. So really our treatment programs are that behavioral component. All of our therapists are specially trained in providing substance abuse treatment. We leverage our partnership with Treasure Coast Community Health, which is phenomenal. And so we screen and refer to TCCH where they are able to access Vivitrol or Suboxone. What we love is our license. Our programs are licensed through the Department of Children and Families, and we're CARF accredited. Through that licensure, we can access funding through the Florida Alcohol and Drug Abuse Association. And so any of the medical that people need, if they are indigent and don't have insurance, which is the majority of the population that come through our doors, they are able to access the physical workup, the labs, and the cost of the medication through those partnerships that we have. And so what we're trying to do is ramp up. Pre-COVID, we were actually providing MAT in the jail in partnership with TCCH. Now that TCCH is full on in the jail, we're really in discussions of what more can we do while people are in the jail to help stabilize them when they come out. And there's going to be lots of opportunity. There's opioid settlement dollars that'll be coming into our community. And so the conversations around what do we need to do and what can we do are happening. We need more people at the table, but I've really, I pushed to the sheriff. I think I could retire perhaps, maybe if we had some sort of formal treatment program in the jail, because such a high percentage of our people sitting in the jail have substance use disorders, and we could stabilize them to really help them be more successful when they come out and follow through.
But what do you do when you find that somebody needs medical detox?
That is always challenging. And so I think we had, I don't know if I put it down. Oh yeah, we had 100. So we pre-screened we pre-screened 264 people from October 1 until March 1. And 101 were deferred, which was we couldn't serve them at our organization. So it was probably talking about how do we connect you with residential treatment or detox, or sometimes too, they're like, oh no, that's not something I want to do, or that's not what I was looking for. But there were 101 that we could not serve could not serve at the condition they were in at our organization. So we do refer, what we tell people, particularly when they call us, we tell them New Horizons, Circles of Care in Melbourne, and always if you go to, if you feel like you are in a medical crisis, you can go to the emergency room. And we know a lot of our people at BHC end up there, side by side with substance use.
Deal with it whether they want to or not.
Yeah, and and it's just, I look at detox is so important it's the first stepping stone in really stabilizing somebody to, be able to engage in some of the programs and services we offer. I heard you guys talking a little bit about recovery earlier. It's another great option for people. I will say, and I've shared with Brett, a lot of the people we serve, the indigent, they don't have the means and resources, the safe people and support system to successfully do recovery. We certainly keep that as an option for people. A lot of our clients just would not be good candidates based on their lack of social support and their mental acuity, if that makes sense.
We've had conversation in the past couple months about inpatient medically supervised detox and trying to facilitate a process in our community. And I'm not as familiar with the opioid dollars as I probably ought to be. I'm aware these are settlement monies that are coming as a result of the abuses from the industry. As I understand it, are you all accessing that money, or how available will that money be? Before I'm going to Google it myself and.
So my understanding is in a community of our size, it will go through the managing entity. In larger communities, it would go straight to the county, but I believe it will go through the managing entity, and then we as a community would give our proposals or say what it is we would want to be doing with that money. I don't know, there's a public safety meeting that I normally attend, and I wasn't able to attend last month, and I do believe that might have come up, that the county was, talking about what is it that we're going to need to do with, what are ideas for these dollars. Someone had mentioned that to me. I just didn't happen to be able to be at that meeting.
Thank you.
Do you know if they are earmarking that county by county? Like so much has to come to Indian River County, so
Believe
much
so.
goes to, because the managing entity is serving 4 counties, so.
I believe it is earmarked per county.
Okay. So they.
Limit-
so
my
if
limited
we're-
under
If
my
we're
limit.
buying for it, they have to bring it to Indian River County. The managing entity doesn't get to decide, we're gonna give X to Indian River and X to Martin.
No, I believe it's per county.
That's probably an area we need to consider intergovernmental coordination
Yeah, yeah, and if we really look at how we can leverage multiple resources, what can we really do to address the issues and the needs in our community? I mean, I also really think, we do the best we can. We've got day treatment. We wrap people around, our recovery assistance program or other, housing partners. But, residential treatment has an important role in a community too. And to have a detox and step down into a residential, we could really fill a continuum of care in our community that, and people are going, substance use disorders are chronic relapsing diseases. And it doesn't mean it has to happen for everybody, but we expect that people are going to enter in and out of that continuum of care. They're going to need a full access to a continuum to meet their needs. And we want to be able to get them back into the continuum as soon as possible. And so we need that full, vibrant continuum, local and available.
So what's the typical level of, I can never say this word right, recidivism? I can never say that word.
I
hear 30% generally.
Yeah, so our state benchmark for successful completion from our programs is the state sets the standard at 50%.
50%.
So we do about 60%. Our board chair years ago, he was upset, he's like that's a failing grade, Carrie. I'm like, oh no, we're doing great. And so the relapse rate is also based over time. So we know people hit the 3-year mark or the 5-year mark, they're less likely, we're less likely to see the relapses. So it's really those first 5 years that are really crucial in helping get people out of the woods.
Is there a way that you can do longitudinal tracking of your clients?
So we do. We do it, and actually one of our federal dollars has these. They have a longitudinal tracking that we have to meet these outcome measures on, and our people change their phone numbers all the time. It's almost impossible for some of them. But our recovery assistance program people, the ones that we follow, we can follow. And they let us know if they've relapsed, if they need more, or that they're still doing great years out. But a lot of our clients, the number has changed. They're not there. It's challenging the broader, larger program we serve. It's harder for us to stay in touch with all of them. But we do 30-day follow-up call. That way, if they've stumbled, they still got a connection with us, can we get you back into services? Can we help you out? But we try to do 30 days, 6 months, and a year out of follow-ups.
I wish I had brought the material from our chairman's meeting yesterday. Jeff Pickering was talking to us about Indian River indicators. And one of the pieces of data that he spoke to was focused on smoking, and he made the reference that, and this may or may not include vaping, I don't know how that's managed now, but he said that it has come down. And what went through my mind yesterday, and we had too much stuff to query him on, was about the vaping. Your comments earlier make me feel like vaping is as bad as ever and increasing, and that seems not in sync with what we heard from Jeff.
Yeah, and I will say our
use has gone down, but vaping has
So
gone
vaping
smoking
is replaced.
Yes. So we got down to about 2% of our kids would say they smoked, they thought smoking was gross, and we're like, yeah, we're doing great, and then all of a sudden vaping came out of nowhere, and big tobacco really used the same playbook to hook our kids, and so now it's about 1 in 4 or 1 in 5 high school students says they vaped in their lifetime. It's
Smoking isn't cool, but vaping is.
yeah.
With THC.
Yeah, 1 in 4.
The last thing I just wanted to hit on real quick too is the Craft for Family and Friends. So that CRAFT is short for Community Reinforcement and Family Training. And so about 1 in 2 Americans now says they have a family member or a friend who struggles with substance use. And so our CRAFT program is an evidence-based way to help loved ones learn skills that ultimately get their loved one into treatment. And if their loved one doesn't go to treatment, they have a reduction of their own depression and anxiety. And 7 out of 10 times the loved one does go to treatment when the family's employed these skills. So we're really, I really want to target that program a little bit more, penetrate our community with it. it's so important. The family members are the unidentified patient, and they don't realize it or see it. And so we work really hard. We have a family recently that was served, and so the husband was coming with the 2 adult children, and the wife has now been into treatment and doing well. And it just a day and night shift in the dynamics in that family, the communication, and their appreciation for the program.
Well, and your patient also very vividly sees the impact on his or her loved ones, which has a huge impact too, hopefully, if they, they have the empathy.
Yeah. Anything else for me?
Thank you, Carrie.
Thank you.
Keep doing what you're doing, because
All right.
Is Narcan now available through pharmacies?
Well, so Narcan for a number of years has been available there is a standing order in the state of Florida. So you could walk up to a pharmacy, say, I'd like Narcan. I think it's about $75. So we are able to, with our partnership with Bay Street Pharmacy, the state hospital ships the Narcan kits to Bay Street. I'm allowed to pick them up and disseminate them into the community.
if you need some, call her.
Okay.
The last thing I'm going to send a flyer.
I have some.
I would like to invite you to our marijuana forum, which is March 30th at the Richardson Center. And our Safer Coalition every year brings in a speaker from high-intensity drug trafficking, a national DEA program, I think. And he's very well versed, and he helps communities understand the landscape of marijuana, the changing landscape, what they need to prepare for, what conversations they need to be having. And so he'll be out at the Richardson Center on the 30th. I believe it's 8:30 to 1. It's a long program, but it never disappoints how much information he has to share with communities. Yeah.
I went the one time, I was amazed.
Yeah. It's like, and I do this every day, and I sit and I'm like, oh, I'm always learning. So it's important.
Well, that's an interesting topic because people say, well, it's okay now. Marijuana, yeah. It's all good.
And then unfortunately, our kids' perception of harm is way down because so many people are saying, legalize it, it's just marijuana. But the potency is so much higher than it was. I mean, we're talking, 3-4 times the greater potency, and it's none of it is good for a developing adolescent brain.
Right. It's interesting. Okay. Any other
Thank
comments?
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, the trank.
Just saw that story on the news.
So I will tell, yes, so and so we still want to use Narcan. Narcan is not Narcan won't hurt somebody if they're not overdosing from an opiate. What is happening is trank is combined with the opiate, so the sedative effect of the trank, so we can, reverse that opioid, but they're still overdosing on the trank, and Narcan does not work on that. And I will tell you, we had a client not too long ago, in hindsight 2020, I kind of put it together, had an open wound, a bad wound that we were really concerned about. We got him over to the VNA. They were like, that's going to take like a year to heal. And if I had to guess, it really falls in line with what we're hearing about that xylazine, or what's now called trank.
And is Trank here?
Yeah.
Is it
I
worse
mean,
than?
the story was in Philadelphia. That
Yeah.
I saw on the news.
No, it's definitely here in Florida. We've gotten our alerts, and
nasty.
Is it stronger than fentanyl?
it's a different drug. It's so it's more, I believe it's more of like a benzodiazepine type effect. So it's not an opiate class, but it also causes these flesh-eating wounds, and is really. But it's often being cut with the fentanyl. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Carrie. Really appreciate it. Thank you all. Thank you, Wolf, for being on that committee too. Any unfinished business with the,
I just had a question. We were handed out this CareFlow program
yes,
prepared. Are we going to discuss that at some time, or?
he is actually coming to.
Chad
the-
is coming to our April
April
chairman's meeting and to answer questions and make some presentation on that, so, yep.
Yep, he'll be there then. Any other?
I was just going to follow up because when I saw the minutes, it made me think about it again. The performance review. I freaked a little bit just when I heard about what some of the anticipated costs were going to be, and I know we're talking. Have we gotten any farther with discussions about
So we're
Who's interested
awaiting,
in
yeah,
what we're
Kate
talking
and
about
I
and when?
talked about it today, so we're awaiting one more proposal, which is, we've gotten 3 bids, if you will, and had some conversations with 3 different organizations that do that, and the number we're waiting on is the one that we feel most confident about, so I don't know what the cost will be about that, but I'm gonna, I'll present something about that next month, April. We're gonna be ready by April.
Super.
That'll be an interesting process. Okay, any other business from anybody? Public comment, yes.
I wanted to follow up when Michael commented on riding along on Meals on Wheels, just to make sure that you all received your invitation for March for Meals. We'd love to have you ride along. It's the week, the 28th and 29th in Vero and the 30th in Sebastian. And if you didn't see your letter and would like more information, I'll be happy to give you a card. We can connect afterwards.
I didn't get a letter this year. I didn't get a letter this year.
Did any of the?
I got it.
You got it, okay, good, so, all right, so we're 50-50 maybe. All right, so, yes, so,
Let us know.
yeah, I'll circle back with you. Just wanted to make sure you have it on your radar. It's a really good experience.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Anybody on? Nobody's on Zoom? Okay, then we are adjourned. Thank you all.
Cool. I realized long ago I couldn't
You never do much to do.
these people that have funded. It's just.
They're miracle.